If you watched on YouTube, welcome. Today's video is a quick snippet from the VOD where we're going to vote on the best maps in Scriptum. I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, remember to like, subscribe. Really appreciate it. We're almost hitting the next YouTube sub goal. Appreciate all that. With that being said, let's jump straight into the video. So how I'm going to do this poll as well is I'm not going to vote on every single layer of the map because some layers of maps are worse than other layers. I'm just going to do an overall summary of each map. That's how this is going to work. The first map, a classic map, one that inspired many young boys as a child to, you know, join the army and learn about World War II. It's Arnhem. It's a bridge too far with Sean Connery. It's a classic. It's a classic map.
Take cover! Don't you think that since we know that Arnhem is so crucial to their safety, they might know that too?
What can I say aside from it's good. It's good. It's good. It's a good map. It's nicely designed. It's probably the biggest urban map in the game. Don't let the map fool you. Only half of it is actually in play. So only half of it is in play. It's the biggest urban map in the game. It captures a bridge too far in the movie very nicely. The next map, Stone. The first chapter 2 map. Stone is a great mixture of it's got good infantry, it's got good tank play, and it's got good logistics play. And if you combine that all together, you got a great map. Not only that, but it's one of the few maps that has varying layers. You have layers where the Germans attack, you have layers where the French attack, you also have day and night layers, which is, compared to the other maps, that's a great range of customizability to the map. The next map is kind of, I just put it up there just for the sake of it, why not? And it's the training map. It's Arnhem training range. We just had the discussion with Snazzy, where I think its name should be changed to Imber. I'm just saying. And I'm just gonna straight up. I hope Snazzy's not in chat, but it's bad. I'm just gonna straight up and say it's bad. I'm just gonna straight up and say the training range is pretty bad. I've got to be careful because Snazzy's in chat. I don't want to lose my partnership. I won't say it's trash, but I'd definitely say it's bad. It's good for new players. It gives you a rundown of the basic mechanics. You get to use all the guns. You get to spawn all your tanks. But the reason why, to me, it's bad is I can never use it as an accurate test for in-game. So if I wanted to test how a tank works against another tank, I never take it seriously. If I want to do tank tests, for example, I go on a private server and I test it there. I can't use the training map as an accurate representation of what can happen in the game. I could be wrong with that, but I just feel the training range just isn't accurate to me. Squad has a great training range. Squad is basically a mini campaign for their training range. You go through like a little 20-minute story that teaches you the bare mechanics. I think Scriptum could do something like that. It would be great. It would be also great for new players because as a video that I'm going to post next week maybe, there's a lot of things that new players don't know about the game. And I think the training range could do with an update down the line. Now, I mean, I think everyone who watches my stream knows my feelings about this next map. Utah is one of the worst maps I can possibly think of in any game. It's a map designed just for pain and to be a meat grind. I can think of, aside from how it looks visually and how it sounds and the unique mechanics they added to Utah, I can think of no redeeming facts for Utah. Now, recently they released two offensive layers where the Americans push up from the south, and also a new invasion layer where they invade on the south beach. But it's still, to me, it's just a trash map. I hate it. Whenever it comes up, I will leave the server. I will leave the server 9 times out of 10 when it comes up. I do not enjoy it. To me, it's not a fun map. Vale, to me, is it's a good map. It's a good map. It's a good map. And I'll explain why it's a good map. Again, it's got lots of layers. It's got American versus German. It's got the UK versus German. It's a great layer. It's got where the Germans attack and where the Allies defend for once, which is, you know, kind of unique. I like that when sometimes the Germans go on the offensive. It's also got a few unique features on some of the layers where you can actually power drop as the Allies, which is always cool. You can power drop at the Allies at the beginning of the map. I will say the one downside to this map is most public servers play the layer where the Americans have to cross the bridge in the south. And that, if it doesn't go right for the Allies, means the map is going to be another 60 minutes of just a wall grind where you can't get across the river because it's very easy to block the north. But if you're on the Ally side that you know what you're doing and you can get that first cap, it becomes a very enjoyable map. It's got a mix of urban, open, and also elevation as well. It's a very good map. It's got a bit of everything. It's great for tanking. It's good for infantry, and logistics can have a fun time on it as well. I enjoy it. It's a good map. Very good partner. See, I love it. Right, Velmolen, one of the smaller maps out of Chapter 1. I think only Best is smaller than Velmolen when it comes to Chapter 1. It's a very small map. Even Arnhem, I believe, it's either the same size or bigger. Fun fact, Velmolen used to be called Wolf Heist. Wolf Heist? Wolf Heinz? Nice. Good luck taking the warehouse on Velmolen. True. It's one of the smaller maps, so it can limit the options for the attackers, whether it comes to flanking or getting in positions with their FOBs and MSPs. It becomes very easy for the defenders to know the best places for FOBs and MSPs to be. Also, on top of that, Velmolen, it definitely needs a ticket increase. I think at the moment, all layers for Velmolen are only 400 tickets. And not only in a public setting, but we also saw in a clan setting, tickets on this match burn very quickly. It becomes in a very quick map. Now, you could say that's a good thing due to the size of the map. You don't want 800 tickets on like a smaller map. And yeah, I feel I never have a good game on Velmolen. It's always just an average game. It's never a game where I'm like, oh yeah, I went in there and I went 25-5. Or I go in and I've got 10 tank kills to 0 tank deaths. It's always just a trade. I either go 10 for 10 or I go 5 for 5. It's always just a very average map. I feel some balance tweaking and a slight increase in the tickets, even if it's just like from 400 to 500, and maybe a readjustment of how many stationary guns the defenders get. Aside from that, it's a decent map. It's just, I think it's one of the weakest when it comes to the Chapter 1 maps. Moving from Velmolen, which is one of the smallest Chapter 1 maps, to the actual smallest map in Chapter 1, and also one of the most unique in the sense that it's a rectangle in a horizontal line, where all the other maps are very boxy. Best. You know what? I'm going to be a bit controversial with Best. I'm putting it in S tier. It says it in the name, Best. I'm going to be a bit controversial with it. I know a lot of people hate this map, and I can understand why they hate this map. So let me explain. Best, again, in the sense of layers open to it, it has a good range of layers. You've got night and day maps. You've got American versus German and British versus German. You also have a layer where the Germans attack the British, which is great. You have a wide range of layers to choose from, which is amazing. It might be a small map, but there's still plenty of opportunities to adapt, whether you're attacking or defending, and use different strategies. You can always find a way to sneak through. It's very nicely designed in the sense that you've got urban, forest, open fields, and you've got unique structures like bunkers and everything. It's very nicely designed in that sense. Also, visually, I think it's just a very pretty map. I think visually, Best is one of the best looking maps in the game, just on a visual standpoint. It's a very nice map. Man, we're moving on to our second Chapter 2 map, Chapter 3 map now, Carentan. Carentan, man. Band of Brothers, sorry. Clint Eastwood. Americans. Freedom, liberty. all that stuff. It's in the trailers. It's my intro. So let's just say it. Carentan is one of the best looking maps in the game. Visually, in the town, in the countryside, it is very pretty. The fact that most of the buildings can be explored and all the buildings have an interior makes it very good as well. Makes the map feel like it's lived in, which is always a big plus to me. If the map feels like it's alive and there's people who live in this area, that's always a big plus to me. It gives me a feeling that I'm actually fighting through a town instead of just like a ghost town that's been abandoned. Also, Carentan introduces a few new weapons. The Germans get the, what is it, the machine gun, the FG-42 or something, which a lot of people love. It was also the first introduction of the King Tiger to the game. Overall, I would say it's just a good map. It's just a good map. It's a good map. It's a good map. I'd like to see more layers on Carentan, if I'm honest. One of my ideas for Carentan is I want to see an armored only layer. It sounds crazy, but one of my favorite things about Carentan is actually the urban tank warfare. And maybe in the armor overhaul, when we get it, I would love to see an armored layer only for Carentan. Just for a fun little game mode, you know? Armored only, fighting through Carentan, I think would be really fun. We need to move this along, because I'm taking a long time. This is going to be a long video. Dinan, quick fire. Dinan is bad. It's just bad. I wouldn't say it's trash, it's bad. I mean, what can you say about Dinan? I think most people at this point want to avoid Dinan. Tank-wise, it's terrible. Tanking is absolutely terrible on Dinan. It's virtually impossible for the most part. It's really frustrating. You spend a lot of time trying to get your tank unstuck. Unless you really know the map in detail, it's not a fun experience for tanking. Logistics-wise, it can become very boring as well because you're just focusing on making sure, depending on the layer, they don't get across the bridges. One of the layers for Dinan is flat out refused to be played by a lot of clans on their servers. It's the attacking the castle, the cathedral. A lot of clans I talk to refuse to play that map because it's just terrible. They hate it, which I think is unfortunate. I've only actually played it twice in all my hours, and both those times I had to ask the admins to please put it on so we could have a look at it. Next patch should be more Dinan drivable. Nah! Leak! You see that leak? Next map should make Dinant more drivable. Boom! We're done it, boys. Okay, Dinan is now S tier. Dinan goes up to S tier. Perfect. Another pontoon. Ah, okay, cool. Helsing. I'm changing the layer a little bit. I'm going for Helsing because I don't want to break this river. Helsing, to me, is average. Let me explain. It's a good map, but it's also very safe in the terms that it hasn't got a lot to it. It hasn't got something that's unique to me. It hasn't got something that is a standout to make it better than, say, Arnhem. It's just an average, safe map. And that's all I can really say about it. Whenever you play think about this. Whenever you play Helsing, you never have a great and amazing game where you go like 50-0. You always have a game where you go 25-8 or 17-10. You always just have an average, mediocre game. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good in the sense that there's multiple layers for it. You get night and day. You got Americans versus the Germans along with the British. You don't have any German layers, which is upsetting. It would be nice to get a German attack on that map. It's a nice big map, but again, it's very safe. 5 maps left. I'm going to go with Oosterbeek as average as well. Oosterbeek is average. For almost the exact same reasons as Helsing. Actually, no, I'd say Oosterbeek is on the border of good and average. Helsing behind it. Velmolen is just average. Oosterbeek is very similar to Helsing for the exact same reasons I just said. It's a very average map. What you'll have is you'll have the allies will either take the first cap in record time when they're on the attack, and then they'll get stuck on the second cap because that's all the Germanology do on a public server. They always build up the reinforcing caps, and it just becomes in a 45-minute slogfest. The town of Oosterbeek is fun. I will say the town of Oosterbeek, when you're fighting down here, does get fun. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just it's a staple. It's just there, you know. Yeah, and most of the map is also empty. You don't you do all the top right of the map and the bottom left might as well not be there because you never use it. You never use a large portion of this map, which is unfortunate. I'd like to see more layers on Oosterbeek that utilize more parts of the map, spread out the objectives further. How cool would it be on Oosterbeek if there was a layer where the British are attacking? There is more caps to take, but they're further apart. So you have the first cap there, then maybe the next cap is over in this corner, then one in the middle, then down here, then down here. Add more caps to it and sprace them out so it takes part of the entire map. Then you get a full-on battle. So Oosterbeek, like Helsing, it's just meh. Meh, you know? It's just bah. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just a staple. I'm going to piss off a few people with this next one, I think. Grave is bad. Grave is just bad. I'm not a fan of Grave. Unsubbed? Man, you know it's true. Grave is just one of those maps where it's just rush the river crossing. If you don't rush the river crossing, whether you're attacking or defending, you've pretty much lost the match for the most part. After the bridge, though, the problem is Grave is focused on that bridge. I know there's layers where the Americans attack from the bottom right and they push all the way up to the bridge, but the game never gets that far in the first place. Where if you're a German tanker or Lodgy on this game and you have to get across the bridge, so most of the time it's just impossible to do. It's Grave, yeah, it's Grave 2.0. Sorry, it's Arnhem 2.0 on a bigger scale, but lacking the charm. You know, it doesn't have the charm of, you know, a bridge too far with Sean Connery and stuff. It's just it's also a very gimmicky map. So for example, we talk about when the Americans have to attack from the right. Every time, you know what the tactic is for German Lodgy? One truck goes down south, builds an 88, the other truck goes and blocks this bridge. Boom, game's over. Game's over, GG, you've won. I think everyone knows what I'm going to do with this next map. Drill is just S tier. Drill is S tier. There is no complaint about drill, which is kind of hypocritical for me, because for the reasons why I said Grave was bad with the bridge crossing, drill, that's its layers, but drill does it right. Drill does the bridge crossings right. Let's just flat out say drill is the best map for logistics and tanking. Fact. Matter of fact. It doesn't matter what faction you play on that map, whether you're the Americans, the British, or the Germans. Drill is the best map for tanking and logistics, and that is a matter of fact. It's just so fun for tanking and logistics. Infantry wise, it can be a hard time, but the fun part of drill is the teamwork. You have to work together on drill. You are forced to work together on drill. The map forces your team to work together. Grave doesn't do that. On Grave, it's basically every man for himself. On Drill, the very design of the map forces you to work together. So if it's the Germans attacking and they have to make across the river, they have 4 pontoons that they can build. To get those pontoons up, you are forced as a team to work together. It forces teamwork. If you're the British defending, it forces teamwork out of the British defenders, because the squad leaders have to communicate which pontoon their squad is going to defend, or the bridge. And that's what's so good about Drill. Drill, unknowingly to the players, forces cooperation. It forces team play. It forces you to get good. It forces you to learn mechanics. Drill is up there as one of the best maps. Just matter of fact. It can be very frustrating if the attacking team can't make it across the river. It can be very frustrating for them. But at the same time, if they haven't made it across the river, that means the defenders have done a good job of organizing themselves to defend it. So, you know, it's one team might get screwed, but that means the other team worked well. They worked as a team, they organized, and they learned. So Drill, S tier. In fact, I'm going to straight up and say it's the best map in the game. If you want to learn tanking, it's a great map to practice tanking on because of how big and open it is. You've got good elevation changes. You've got a wide range of tanks to use. It is the best map in the game. Fact. 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 St. Mericles. I'm going to say it's a good map. Chapter 3. Chapter 3 map. It's got some unique mechanics. It's a very pretty map. Again, like Carentan, all the buildings have like an interior. It is an updated visual over Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. It's a very pretty map. It's got some interesting layers. I'm going to say it's a low good. It's a low good. It's on the border of good and average. Doorwerth. Where does Doorwerth sit, man? Where does Doorwerth sit? It's good. It's slightly better than St. Mericles. It's definitely a good. It's not on the border of good and average. It's just a low good. It's a low good. The problem with Doorwerth is its capture zones. It has some of the hardest caps in game for the attackers. You got Castile and you got the warehouse. For the attackers, that can be game over. If the attacking team isn't organized in a single manner, it can be over for them. So I think it's a low good. It's definitely, you know, up there as one of the best maps. It's also very underutilized. A lot of these chapters, like Oosterbeek, you could say the top left corner of the map, you could cut it off there. You never see that portion of the map. It's never used. I'd like to see more layers on Doorwerth where more parts of the map is moved. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my tier list. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. After all my experience, I think that's pretty good. We've only got one map that's trash. Then we've got a couple that are bad, which Dinant is going to get an update, which is cool. We've learned that today. Training could do with an update. Grave, I don't like Grave. It's always just meh. Average, they're not good, they're not bad, they're just very staple. But for the most part, we've got good maps, which, you know, I'm happy with. Predictions for Maginot, I think it's going to be good. I think Maginot would just be a good map. I haven't played the QA testing for it. I haven't played on it, but I think Maginot, from how it's shaping, I think it looks like it's going to be one of the prettiest maps we've seen because of the graphic overhaul they've spent time doing. I think it's going to be the prettiest map we've seen. I think it's going to be very... I think they've learned a lot as well. I think Periscope has learned a lot from the first maps, and I think they're going to implement everything they've learned to make this map a lot better than previously. Yo guys, I'm just adding a little bit onto the video here. So while we was doing this tier list live on Twitch, we actually had the community manager for Periscope, Snazzy Ducklin, in chat. It was great to have him interacting with the community, and he actually dropped some leaks about an upcoming change to Dinan, a overhaul to the map to make it more vehicle friendly. They're going to be clearing up the streets, removing obstacles, adding a new pontoon, and also adding a few extra roads. It's really interesting, and it's something that I know the community has been asking for. So here are the screenshots he dropped while we was doing the tier list. We're squeezing those leaks out of him. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to this update. And yeah, back to previous just now from the VOD. That is my tier list. Do you agree with me? If not, put your comments on what your maps would be. I will also link this in the description of the video if you're watching on YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, YouTubers, please remember to like the video. You would also subscribe. That'd be a great help to me. Also, make sure you drop by the Twitch at twitch.tv/the_Yazoo. You're missing out on 90% of the content. Look, we've had Snazzy in chat today dropping a hot leak. You can be here. So make sure you drop by the Twitch. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Much love. Mwah.